running, you know, real Linux, Alpine Linux on your phone, bring it on in. If you're the kind of helper person that we used to get at clinics, you can just show up and see who shows up looking for help. Because that was a fun thing too. Oh wow, another whole crowd of people. Oh my God, they must have stacked up after Jason. Watch out for the cord. Cord. Thank you. So there's that, clinic. Hopefully, gonna go ahead. Volunteers to help people. If you've got a machine you need help with, you can bring it in, we'll help you out. Maybe. Wes used to have a little line about, we'll give you new problems. Or you'll come bring in one problem and you'll leave with maybe, you know, more than that. So that's the clinic announcement. The other announcement, and this bears on plug, is that yesterday, I think, Lance Albertson, the guy who runs OSU OSL, is anybody who's not familiar with OSU OSL? Okay, so they are it's the Oregon State University Open Source Lab, and they have a data center on campus at Oregon State University, and they host many projects, either VMs, they host build boxes, all sorts of things, plug included. Did you see this news?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 OpenZFS is hosted there.
Yeah.
And was kernel at Oregon.
So it turns out corporate or whatever, their donors have been kind of tailing off in recent years, and the College of Engineering has been backfilling the budget for a number of years, and then suddenly, I don't know why we only got 2 weeks notice, but we got 2 weeks notice that if Lance doesn't come up with 250 grand by the 14th of May, 2 weeks from, less than 2 weeks from now, they're gonna yank the plug, and sometime later this year, it will go away. Huh?
Pun not intended.
Possibly both. They're gonna pull the the metaphoric and physical cords will all be plugged, both. Personal Telco, which I am associated with, also has a box down there, so we're also annoyed by this. If you have fat cat employers or donors, this is the wrong crowd, but if you know any, I mean, Personal Telco could give them money, small amounts, but then we wouldn't have the money to deal with the fallout of not having this awesome free hosting. So that's unlikely to happen. Anyway, so be aware of that. There might be changes coming to how Plug is hosted. We might have another super fun mailing list experience from a couple years ago. So, those are two pieces of news, and then we've got the other one. Hang on, I'm gonna pick another color. We've got this, which is no speaker.
This is every month.
So I've got some feelers out, but no commitments. I'm super glad that Michael has shown up, because I'm sure he has a whole list of people who've been contacting him, just chomping to speak. So we don't have a speaker yet for next month. One of the ideas, we actually at Personal Telco last night, we had a little kind of mini Meshtastic confab with the two people that have been playing with it. Who knows what Meshtastic is? Yeah. Oh, so do any of you people know people who would speak on that subject?
If they're willing to drive up from Eugene.
Are they?
Probably not.
Yeah, okay. Is there, my understanding from this little confab last night is that there's kind of a fairly active community here in Portland.
A lot of overlap with the cybersecurity hacking group too.
So anybody who would be I mean, that seems to me a plausible talk. Some people would be interested in that. I also actually, I'll have a pre-existing feeler out for Fosse to have Fosse come do like a pre-Fosse marketing pitch thing. And they thought that was a great idea too, except they don't really have local staff that would be, they
Yeah, they
indicated
do.
there was somebody in Eugene who might be willing to come up, but they were on maternity leave or something, or whatever kind of leave it is, new parent leave.
I see.
And,
Plug.
yeah, well, there's that, but we don't wanna, we wanna.
Don't plan for unplug.
Yes,
Unplug just
exactly, that,
happens.
yes. No organization required there. So anyway, that's the story. You want to give a little pitch on Fosse? A mini
Who's
pitch.
Familiar with it? Anyone? Anyone? Kat, you two go. I'm furniture.
Small open source conference hosted last year was hosted up the street at the PSU Student Union, hosted by Software Freedom Conservancy, right?
Yep.
About open source
Okay, I need to go.
stuff. I'm going to talk about whatever you're doing open source. Not too big, but it was a lot of fun last year.
Filling the gap left by OSCON, which Open Source Bridge tried to do but didn't quite achieve, and they're delightful people.
Okay, Russell's just left, told me I can start, so I'll start. So here's the obligatory biographical side. I'm in Shearin. My preferred pronouns are they, them. I've been going to plug for, well, most of you, maybe not most of you, many of you know me. Been going to plug, and I have done nothing. No mailing list posts, no talks, so here I am, no refunds. Professionally, I'm a DevOps. Don't ask me what it means. I don't know either. And
That's the
see,
definition.
personally, I run Arch. For those of you guys just met, it's been 5 minutes. I'm required to tell you I run Arch. I also run Rocky. I used to run Fedora. And then this is plug. So questions, comments, heckling, anytime. It's going to happen whether I put it in the slide or not. Not yet. I thought about it today, actually. So to kick us off, let's start with this adage: the two difficult problems in computing: naming, caching validation, and off by 1 errors. Naming is difficult. That's a theme that we'll be repeating. So 2001? Okay, apparently, good thing I have slides. 2001, Sun Microsystems wrote this thing.
Oh yeah.
The zettabyte file system. And like everything in computing, it very quickly devolved into its acronym. Now, of course, Sun Microsystems was in the United States, so they would have said ZFS. I think a lot of you would have said ZFS. However, here's a list of countries that would pronounce it ZFS. It's every other country in the world that speaks English. I tend to prefer the international viewpoint, so I usually say ZFS. I'm not consistent. When you hear me say ZFS and Zpool, oh, see, I did it wrong, and Zpool, or Z is Z in English, in other Englishes, if you're confused. There you know. And then before we forget about, don't trip on the cable.
Yeah.
Before we forget about Sun Microsystems, I'm just going to quietly put these two logos next to each other and go, that's interesting. Okay, next slide.
How did they massacre the logo? It was so good. Why did they do that?
Why did they do what?
The original is so good.
This is Columbia Sportswear.
Oh.
Also, fantastic logo. But yeah, those are the right colors too. I didn't change the colors. All right, that's the intro. I wasn't expecting to have my own notes, so I have my own notes, but I still don't remember where I'm going. So first we're going to do some pedantry. I was going to call this Pedantry Corner, and then I realized I was ripping off a YouTuber, so no, I'm not calling it that. If you don't know, penetrate is the insistence on adherence to formal rules or literal meaning at the expense of a wider view. You can call it some other words, but I won't. So let's talk about disk. I'm proud of myself for getting the Greek letters correct. So ancient Greek discus, the thin, flat, circular object, think like a pancake. Not that I'm hungry or anything. So from that you got disk with the C and disk with the K, again with the US English. So the rest of the world spells disk with the C and the US spells disk with the K. Unless we're talking about optical media, in which case the whole world spells it with the C, or magnetic media, in which case the whole world spells with the K. Supposedly came from diskette, but only if it's removable. So really when you're talking about floppy diskette drive, or hard disk drive, or solid state drive, you're talking about the drive. This is just pedantry, okay? People
Blame
say
IBM.
it's a disk. It's a drive, really. Yes.
Is a hot swap drive a diskette?
So you could say the media in the drive is the disk, and the drive itself is the drive.
Or would it be a cassette?
See, what's the difference between a cassette and a diskette? I don't know. Anyways, people like to say disk when they really mean drive, and of course, we care about block devices, which includes disks, which includes partitions of disks. All right. For those of you who work with drives, disks, please partition your drives. The kernel whines if you don't do this. It works fine, but it prints a warning, and I don't like warnings. I can't see your warnings, but I know they're there. Please partition your drives. Also, stop using MBR. It's not 1980. There's like one reason to use MBR, and if it fits your use case, do it. Otherwise, something else. GPT, something else, please. Okay. Let's talk about some fun block devices. There's a pattern forming here. Here's some fun things you can do in Linux. You can use LVM. You can use AMD very creatively, multiple devices to do RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 5. Not really going to talk about this because this talks about ZFS. Dencrypt, Lux, which just uses Dencrypt, and Bcache, which I've never actually used, so don't ask me any questions about it. So we had boring block devices, fun block devices. Here's some boring file systems. You get EXT is not an acronym. It's actually just short for Ext-ended file system. XFS, when they named XFS, it was Silicon Graphics. They said, we'll figure out X, where X is, and we'll figure out X later. And then they never did, so it's actually just X. And then you have FAT file system, file allocation table file system. You should say FAT after file system, and nobody does. And then just to be complete, file system roughly is a tree of files on a block device. They do other things for this talk. It's a tree of files on a block device. And Linux likes to maintain a logical separation. Why am I looking over there when I have this? Linux maintains a logical separation between block devices and file systems. So you can do fun stuff with file systems, you can do fun stuff with block devices, you can do boring stuff with one or the other. It likes to maintain that separation. If you look at one of those big confusing diagrams of how the kernel's laid out, there's separate boxes in the spaghetti. And then if you haven't seen this before, this is how you do file systems. You make a file system, you can make a map point, you mount it, or you put it in FSDAB, or you put it in system demount unit. I'm not going to, I was like, oh, let's demo this. Let's not. You've seen this a million times.
The system.
This is my status tracker slide. Are we done yet? So, now we actually talk about ZFS, which is the fun part where I have the word demo on the slide and I don't have any notes. So, we're going to go over here and we're going to look at my block devices. I don't remember doing that, but okay. I have an SD card in this laptop. That's the, is this text big enough?
Yeah, you got it.
You're in the front row.
Yeah, I am. I was going to ask that same question. It's good for me. It works.
Okay. So this top thing, this MMC Block 0, that's an SD card. It's a whopping 8 gigabytes. It was $1. We're gonna ignore those first 2 partitions, and we're gonna make a Z pool.
What is that?
Well, let's make one and see what it does. So we just let's name a demo, and I'm going to put it on dev mmc book.
Oops.
0p4. Yeah, that's good. Did I typo it?
VDEV specification.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I did this earlier, so let's make a new one.
Is it already in the
Oh,
pool?
it's yes. I've already used this. I forgot I did that.
Oh, you already created a demo.
Live demos, people.
Z pool destroyed.
So, what is a Z pool? This is one of the things where I was going to do the demo and then explain it, and I'll explain while I go. A Z pool or Z pool, or if you're in ZFS land already, just a pool. The command is all the ZFS commands start with Z. So, actually, there's only 2 of them: Z pool. See, I did it again. Z pool and ZFS. So yes, let's. If I try and do it again, it tells me I know what's going on. I'll just force it. Don't do this.
So you're only doing this because it's already there, so you're just gonna
So-
force over it.
I'm pretty sure what it's saying is, since I've done this before, the header is still on the disk. Normally, I would clear out that partition, but that takes a while. So I'm just going to tell it to reuse the name. This should work. This should work, they said in a demo. Oh, hey, it worked.
It worked.
And oh, you.
It did complain.
It didn't crash the system.
Why is the title bar down there?
Yeah, it was doing that.
No, it's also at the top.
It's another shell.
Well,
Oh, no, that's the tempo.
no, that's supposed to be at the top.
Oh,
The
interesting.
projector's
Okay.
like scrolling.
Oh, right.
Console
anyways.
decided it wanted to be a drop-down terminal.
Yeah.
What you didn't see is my window manager's like, would you like to mount this? Which is silly, because if we remember where the, that's right, host block won't know about it. But if we look in,
If you do the list command, it's gonna show up.
let's do, can you do this?
Wow.
Not- yeah.
Well, helps if I spell it right. Mount's stupid too. Let's see. Well, if I do a pool list, I know it works. We've done this. There's my pool. It's a demo. It's a whopping 1.4-ish gigabytes. We did lose some size there. Let's ignore that. How do I demo this?
So
See-
wait, what is a Z?
So what just happened?
What did you do?
What did I do? So I made a pool. A pool is the top level thing in ZFS. It's a collection of block devices. In this case, a whopping 1 whole block device. A pool by itself is kind of useless. So what do you put in a pool? Well, you put, very creatively, a data set. So if I do this, that's the command I was looking for. The pool named ZDemo is already mounted at ZDemo. That's, if we go back to the slide, there's one line here. You make the pool, it makes a data set for you. There's always a root data set. I'm going to repeat that again later. I didn't have to mount it. I don't need to mount it. I don't need to put it in FS tab or FS tab. It's just there. ZFS tries to do everything for you. Let's go back to the slides, unless there are actually.
Can I ask a
Who's
question?
confused?
I'm slightly confused.
You're
Where is
slightly
that information stored?
It's just like a traditional file system.
There's some metadata.
There's some metadata. That's part of the reason we lost some space.
Yeah.
The partition's a gig and a half.
Right.
We lost some space because ZFS needed to put all of the, I'm not going to call it metadata because that actually means something different in ZFS terminology. it puts the data that says, hey, I'm part of a pool on the SD card. So if I put this in another machine that supports ZFS,
You'll just see it.
it will just see it.
Yeah.
It's just magic, trademark. I should mention, I've been using ZFS for a couple of months, so I'm expert. Point of this talk is, I'm new to this, you can be new to this too. Okay, does anyone, more questions?
Can you remind me what you're running on? What is this
Arch.
operating system?
This is Arch.
Arch, perfect.
Arch Linux.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the thing, it's technically not Arch, it's
Yeah, yeah.
Arch Linux. Linux is a trademark of Linux, yes, okay, we know. There will be slides on that later.
Okay.
Things I know a little bit more about. So, what just happened? This is where I do the demo and then I explain what just happened. Block devices together with file systems. So we didn't have to deal separately with creating the pool and creating the data set. Just happened. There's nesting, so I can create. This is where the demo goes even worse. I'll do.
Why is the name?
The name, there's a slide on this too.
Yeah,
The default mount point is the name of the pool. You can change it.
So it's mounted now?
It's mounted now.
Okay.
I didn't have to do anything, it's just mounted. If you look, of course, I tried to demo that. If I look in /zdemo, it's empty because it's a new file system. It's not like ext that puts lost and found by default.
That command you ran then, that first command where you had to force it to like redo it, so that did 3 different things then. It created the pool,
Created
created the
the
data set, and then it mounted it for you
Yeah.
and it didn't even output anything, it just went.
That's right. The traditional, if nothing went wrong, don't say anything at all.
Okay.
I tried the -B flag for verbose. That should show you the device used for the reader.
Oh, that's useful too.
So,
Yes.
So it's, the file system is ZFS in a Z pool, or, I mean, you can't do like XFS or one of the other file systems in a Z pool, it's always ZFS, or?
I'm gonna answer that with the white lie of no.
so
Don't do that.
Oh, okay.
You really want ZFS pools and ZFS file systems all together. ZFS really expects to live by itself. It doesn't play well with
It's
the
not
other
like
file
creating
systems.
a magical block device underneath, in other ways.
Well, there's a Z-ball.
Yeah.
Okay,
Getting
yeah.
there. You can do. In experimenting for this, you can do some very interesting things with ZFS on Linux because Linux lets you do interesting things, and so does ZFS. I managed to nest ZFS within itself. Don't do this. This is a demo. Also, don't recommend it for SD cards because they're slow, and you put them in cameras and Windows computers.
So you don't have to partition it?
There's a slide on that too. You don't have to.
maybe
And
we should
with
go
any-
through
with-
the slides.
Within, yeah,
Okay.
okay. I'm gonna go back to the slide then.
So when you're saying that encrypted swap file partition is bad on ZFS?
See, you're on slide like 20.
It's file backed.
Okay, I'm gonna go through the
Yeah,
slide.
yeah, yeah.
We can see. You can tell we made it halfway before we went completely out. You can dash. That's what I'm gonna not demo now. You can put volumes within or data sets within data sets within data sets, and then manage them independently. Except it's a tree, so if you change the top one, it inherits some of the features, which is nice. You can do thin/thick provisioning. I can make it bigger or smaller than the disk really is. Of course, that's a problem when you fill it up. And then by default, I have read caching. I didn't have to do anything. I just have read caching. ZFS looks at how much memory you have and adjusts accordingly. This laptop is absurd. It has 120 gigs of memory, so I just don't worry about it. You shouldn't need to worry about it. It should be smart enough. There's this whole section in the man page about if you have less than a gig of RAM, it doesn't do this. If you have 2 gigs, it does this. If you have more, it's a percentage, blah, blah, blah. And you can tune all this, and you shouldn't have to. It should work out of the box. Yes?
How is that different from the standard, like, block device cache that Linux does for general file systems?
I don't know, because I don't really know how that works.
Okay.
It would seem
I'm
to
gonna
me to be
play the-
separate and sort of a buffer blow situation, right? You're caching things twice.
Yeah, it doesn't cache things twice. It's smart about that.
I mean,
If
ZFS would
you-
cache it and the kernel would cache it, they don't know it about each other, right?
ZFS,
Is it
again,
just
we're getting
replacing-
ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
ZFS runs in the kernel, so
So
there's only
it has its own
one.
caching, it doesn't use the
It does
normal
its-
block device caching?
Let's go with yes.
Yeah, it sounds like it replaces some components, it kind of does it itself.
Yes.
But it's a whole different block device setup, so it
Yeah.
probably has its own mechanism separate from what Linux does, is my understanding.
Again, I've been using this for months.
Yeah.
So,
Fair enough.
Okay, and what else do we have? Why are they in the second column? We have okay. This point, this is why you run ZFS. You have a consistency guarantee. It checksums everything by default. I don't even think you can turn it off. You shouldn't.
You can.
You don't. Why are you running ZFS? Integrity, I mean, those are kind of the same thing. Consistency, integrity, it's if you have mirroring or you don't. And then it does snapshots, which is the thing everyone goes off about in ZFS. Like, yeah, it does snapshots, we get it. What else can you do? Striping, mirroring, parity RAID. That's RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 5. Except it's smart about it. It does dynamic block sizing. This is the like total black magic wizardry that Sun came up with. It's cool. If you have more than one disk, ZFS is great. You should use that. This is an SD card. I'm not going to do that. Does the encryption? Going back to, you can nest. There's a tree of data sets. If you put encryption at the top one, it trickles down. You can uninherit it, but so like this laptop asks for my password once for the root data set and for my home data set. Don't have to type it twice. You can do drive back caching, so write caching. This is where people talk about the ZIL and the level 2 ARC, which is neat. I have an SD card. There will be no demo. I've actually never set this up myself, so there'll be no demo anyways. It's write caching. You can, if you have a bunch of hard drives and an SSD, you can cache an SSD. It's neat. It's neat. Just trust me. Trust me. I've been using this for months. You get compression, which is compression. You get deduplication, which is block level deduplication. It has, it works as well as you might expect it to, which is to say you have fewer duplicate blocks than you think you do. And you can do quotas, which really helps if you do thin provisioning. Yes?
yeah, so a few years ago, I set up a build machine and I used the L2R drive cache with SSDs and it worked great. But at first, the deduplication thing bit me because it was there by default and it decided to use up almost all the RAM on the machine.
Right. Deduplication has,
So I had to start
it has to
over.
troll through all your blocks and find the duplicates. It's not really as good of a payoff as you might initially think. There's a lot of work involved. There's a lot of, well, I thought that block was a duplicate. Oh, it's 1 byte off, so it doesn't count.
I wanted my RAM for RAM.
Yeah, if you want your RAM, you really got to tell ZFS to quit it, because it will use all your RAM.
It'll generally use a bunch of RAM with or without deduplication, but also deduplication has actually improved by about 50% efficiency within the last year.
What version?
2.2.
2.2? Okay, I started on 2.2, so.
Nice.
And I have no idea what my NAS device is running. It's just it's a black box. Don't touch it.
Yeah.
Okay, this is where we cover some things that you already asked about that in a maybe more logical sense. Block devices, drives, partitions, are collected into virtual devices, VDEVs. We didn't see that. I skipped over that layer. VDEVs are collecting into pools. Again, ZFS just calls them pools. You can call them Z pools because we're in ZFS land. And then a pool contains a tree of data sets. This tripped me up. Every pool, when you make a pool, there's a root data set. It's just there, whether you asked for it or not. And when you make it, there's certain things that you can only do in creation, and the geniuses decided that capital O and lowercase o would be one for the pool and one for the root data set.
What do those flags do?
These are the option flags. So ones, don't ask me which one's which. I don't remember. I have to look it up every time.
You have to specify both options twice at the same time.
So if you want, some options, if you have to specify the options for the pool that you want and the options for the data set, the root data set that you want.
So you may have a command line structure that has both the capital O and the little o if
You
want
probably
that
will. The example from the Arch Wiki is like 7 lines. And they'll go big O, big O, big O, and the little o, and they look the same. They're not.
It's not a zero either.
Yeah, this is not a 0. 'Cause 0 is a little slash through usually. And then a data set can either be a file system, which it usually is, or a volume, also called a ZVol, which is just a block device. You can put random data on it. You can put another file system. You can put LVM into, because I did this for experimental reasons only. You can put LVM into a Z volume, and then put ZFS onto that LVM, and then do it again. You run out of space really fast, by the way, for just all the headers. Also, it's really slow, like really slow. Why do I have the word demo in this slide? What was I going to demo?
What you did earlier, I guess?
I think maybe I was going to make more, or I was just going to show.
Could you show at some point, I don't know where you are, but it would be nice to see a comparison, because we're a bunch of Linux nerds, right? So we know how to, most of us probably know how to, the process of like creating a partition, right? So we partition, then we format, and then we go, and then we mount, right? That whole process.
Show that, yeah.
So it would be interesting if you could show us, do that, and then show us what that would look like in ZFS, so we can see the difference, because that's part, like that's what always confuses me, is like, how many steps, because it's always like, oh, you don't have to do those, but then how, how many steps actually
I think
go
that
away?
might have been what I was going to demo.
Yeah.
I'm not used to this keyboard.
Like the non-ZFS way would be like to format and partition and
Format,
mount,
yeah.
or no,
Yeah, you
make
have to,
a file
do
system
okay.
and
So I think the demo I was going to do
mount it
was
and-
someone pick a random word or fruit or something.
Frog.
Frog. That's it. I'm done.
Is it mounted? Does it show up in mounts?
Mount's a little, so some of the native Linux tooling doesn't quite understand this, but I'm pretty sure it does.
Here it
Yes,
is.
it's at the bottom. So there, I just made zdemo/frog. Thanks.
So the
and-
ZFS command already knew you had a pool created? You didn't specify it, it just kind of knew?
So in this case, I already had a pool. I already had a file system when I'm creating a child file system.
Oh, okay.
Because I gave it that slash, I'll show you the command again.
Yeah, you prefixed with the pool.
And I can do it, give me another
Foobar.
that's way too obvious. So there you go. And also the ZFS list. And I can do this all day.
So then basically then when you created the pool, you told it what disks you wanted, or which block devices you wanted. And then once you do that, then you just create volumes,
The
Shearin's content. Those become endpoints.
pool keeps track of the actual hardware that's going on, and the data sets don't care.
Oh, so then you just kind of forget about it,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Oh, that's cool.
So if this were a RAID, those would be in the RAID. It's not. It's an SD card. I think that was what I was gonna demo. I wrote this. When did I write this? I was expecting to give this talk last month. So it's been okay.
I have a question. How do you reason about how much space you've got available?
How? What do you mean?
Well, like DF-H or something will tell you.
Yeah, so generally you want to do like DU, so to see how much space you're using, rather than how much space you have left.
Yeah, but I want to know
So-
how much space I have left.
That's an interesting one, because like if you have compression and
Yes.
duplication
Yes,
on,
yes.
DU and DF won't agree.
So again, my question is, how do you reason about that?
So DF will tell you what the file system thinks. So if it's a gigabyte and you have half a gigabyte of storage, DF will tell you using actually slightly more than half a gig, because there's overhead with all that
Mhm.
checksumming. Which is why I have a 1.5 gig partition, by the way. Big Buck Bunny does not fit on a 1 gig partition. That was my test file. It's about a gig. DU will sum up all your files. If there's duplicates that ZFS has gone and deduplicated,
Yes,
DU will be larger.
yeah.
Could be the other way around. Of course, on a normal file system, they might not agree because it's deleted open files. Or overmounts of files that are, I've had to deal with this. Does that answer your?
No. Do you know,
Does
Michael?
ZFS give you a pretty number if you tell it to?
Well, or even an approximate number. I mean, I get that there's ambiguity because of all the things you just talked about. But in a practical sense,
Which one's more accurate?
Here's the thing, because ZFS does I don't know the difference. You can make the file system bigger than the space. It will tell you how much allocated
yeah,
space remains. And then when you run out of actual physical space,
it just yells
you
at
just
you.
get errors.
Yeah,
The idea is the system administrator
yeah.
watches these things
Yeah.
and installs new hard drives as needed.
I see what you're saying there though, because you have 3 different volumes, right, on the same storage device, and they're all 1.3 gigs.
Yeah, that's not
Which is not gonna
totally
be correct.
That's not novel either. You have the same thing on NFS.
Yeah, there's
Well, if he's doing it on an SD card, you would
Yeah.
normally not see that each partition would have its own separate space. It would be a percentage of the 1.3, right? So you can't put 1.3 gigabytes on each of those mount
No,
points.
absolutely not.
well,
so
okay, so
that's-
if I put
yeah.
something in, do I still have Big Buck Bunny?
But that's the thing, it's gonna subtract from.
Yes,
What's
okay.
above?
Actually, let me not copy this because it takes a
Yeah.
while. If I were to put large file
Yeah,
onto one of those, the space for all of them
Right.
would go up?
Depends on
Go
which.
down, space available. go
well,
down.
available
You know what I mean.
go down.
The percentage would go up.
Yes.
The usage on all of it, because it's the pool.
Yeah.
How big is the pool? Is it an Olympic-sized pool? No. This is the last slide of this section. Okay, so ZFS is perfect, and we can move on. No, okay. There's a memory overhead. ZFS has this whole thing in the documentation about how it manages this. It will free up as much memory as it can when you request it for user processes. So it's not like, ZFS is using all my RAM, I want my RAM back. Just take it, ZFS will free it as needed. There's some space inefficiency, like I said, it's a 1.5 gig partition, but it's only showing 1.3 gigs. There's some overhead there. And then there's like the tiniest bit of processor overhead and doing all the checksums. It's like, it was in 2001, it was kind of a big deal. In 2025, I almost forgot what year it is, not such a big deal. Don't run it on a Raspberry Pi.
So the one, I'm unfamiliar with ZFS for the most part, but one of the big warning bells that I remember was non-ECC RAM, and that you could get RAM corruption.
It's a preference. It's not a deal breaker.
I thought the warning was that it doesn't care. It has its own checksumming in the file system, so it has its own mechanism for handling it. That's what I was reading. That's what I vaguely remember from FreeNAS.
Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
The sale of error checking and correcting RAM has gone down significantly because RAM has gotten a lot more reliable.
Yes.
If you're worried about that, use ZFS, because it does, like, don't use a traditional file system. That's guaranteed to screw things up if your RAM is bad.
I think the thing that I remember, and this is from multiple years ago, probably some talk with Michael's, was that you could like completely hose your file system if you had a memory corruption.
Scrub of death, urban legend.
Is it really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Urban Legend.
Okay.
And is it Rod that said, like, trust ZFS? Like, what was the quote? It's
The way
like,
I understood it was that like ZFS was like claiming that because of all of the precautions that it took, you were less likely to get things like bit flips. And then some people took that way too hard to say, oh, if you have ZFS, you will not get bit flips at all, which is not true.
Yeah.
Because you need error correcting on top of it. So.
Okay, cool.
yes,
Thank you.
Murphy's Law, the universe exists. ZFS is a terrific protection against bit rot. It's not perfect, nothing is. Okay. I think I'm done talking about ZFS itself. Who's completely confused? Very funny.
What are
Yeah.
the advantages of running ZFS versus the other modern file systems like XFS or BTRFS? These days, why would you pick ZFS over XYZ?
I could say checksumming, I could say snapshots, and you could say, but those other file systems have those things. Sure, go ahead, use them. There's sort of a cult following of ZFS. I'm like, I'll try it, and I'm trying it, and it works. And I've never used Bcache. I've tried ButterFS once, and it just screwed up my data. That was a long time ago. So there's good file like XFS. When I don't run it ZFS, I run XFS. XFS is solid. It's I hesitate to call it a modern file system. It's from Silicon Graphics.
Or fancy.
But yeah, the
I think-
fancy file
I
systems.
think it has like, doesn't it do copy and write or something?
Yeah,
Or
it does copy on write.
whatever other stuff it can do.
I think it has a better group of people working on it. Mostly like people talk about, oh, ZFS. It's like, yeah. Let's not talk about the politics of ZFS or ButterFS. And mostly what I know about ButterFS is you can't read a ButterFS volume on a machine of a different endianness because it writes Endian native on the disk and there's no support for it across systems.
Is there anything that's not little Endian around anymore?
Networks.
Huh?
Networks. DVDs, that's what I was working on yesterday.
DVDs have an Endian?
DVDs are big Endian. Someone made a decision at some point. Well, Sony made a decision at some point. Sony made a lot of questionable decisions, is what I learned this last week.
I mean, they were a
Completely
power
up.
shop for a while. I'm not too surprised. 'Cause power was little and then it went big, or vice versa.
Power is this whole
Power is both.
power. Yeah,
Used
power
to be
power
both.
PC, and then there's BiEndianness, and then no.
Not anymore.
The one thing I think I might add to your original question, why use ZFS, one theory is simplicity. If you consider these commands simple, because in my case, my server setup involves, every time I have a new server, I'm getting 4 hard drives. I'm setting up MD plus LVM plus ext4, and maybe even de-encrypt Lukes if I really want that. And that's 4 separate layers you configure separately that all try to work together into different layers distinct. Whereas ZFS, you just get all that, and it's just there. It's one tool for all. So it's the opposite of the Unix philosophy. It's one tool for all the things.
And it's nice.
Manager.
That is.
So
handy.
it is nice. It is, I'm using, because it's cool.
RAID 5 and RAID 6 are supported.
It has
You
some
get,
similar concepts.
yes, it doesn't do quite, it does the same thing but differently. It's better.
It's better
It's
than
better.
the better FS version of RAID 5 and 6.
Can you read it on, say, Windows system? Is there any compatibility there, or say if you had to?
So here's
Yes,
the,
you
so
can.
this is where we're getting some of the here. I'll just go to the next slide. Cool. So how do I run ZFS? Well, OpenZFS is the, I'm going to call it canon implementation.
There's multiple implementations.
Well, because it was originally Sun. So ZFS, OpenZFS is really a fork, but everyone actually uses OpenZFS. Solaris is the only thing still using the Sun implementation. So OpenZFS is included in FreeBSD and NetBSD. In fact, I think it's the default. Yeah, it's the default in FreeBSD. It just happens. If you want it on a NAS device, you can buy one. You can get some from TrueNAS. You can get something that runs TrueNAS, formerly FreeNAS.
Proxmox.
Proxmox, which is based on FreeBSD.
Now it's based on Debian.
Really, whatever. Yeah, Proxmox. Pretend Proxmox is on the slide. And then that bottom point there, I have it just because that's what I run. If you buy a QNAP, if it has the Hero branding, it supports ZFS. Not out of the box. You need to reflash it. It's 2 clicks, but you need to. I don't know why they did that. And what's not on the slide? Windows. Linux is not on the slide.
macOS.
macOS is not on the slide.
They got their own stuff.
Temple OS.
Temple, okay.
If you could do that, I'd be impressed.
Yeah, can we have a frame buffer first, please? Okay. Linux is not on the slide. That's on the next slide. So, first let's address Windows. There's a Michael left. That's probably the best thing to do at this point. There is an experimental Windows driver for ZFS on Windows. I've seen it. It's scary. Basically, it's like, I'll call it pre-alpha. It's like, it works, it's a proof of concept. I wouldn't trust it. Like, I trust the data, I trust the ZFS part of it, but not the Windows driver part of it. Like, okay, so let's
Fair, EXT support on Windows is also kind of scary.
yeah, it's like, if you have Windows, you run FAT, you run XFAT, you run NTFS. XFAT is really NTFS, by the way. That's really, don't try and do other file system. Oh, yeah, mount things over the network. That's what I do. Windows is great at file sharing. So I have a NAS that runs Linux, that runs OpenZFS, that I just mount. Runs Samba, I just mount that on Windows. I can trust it a lot better that way. Okay, let's talk about Linux. I just checked the slide number. We went really fast, and then we stopped. File systems are implemented in the kernel. Full stop. Let's not talk about Fuse. We don't talk about Fuse. File systems are implemented in the kernel. ZFS is its own project. So how do you add it? Distributing a kernel with OpenZFS, maybe it's a modification. Maybe you're just adding to it. It's a little ambiguous. I've read words from lawyers. I read the entirety of the GPL, and then I read the CDDL, which is the license that OpenZFS is distributed under. And they seemed like English. And then I read a analysis from a lawyer, and it's like, are these, I know some of these words. Basically, maybe you can do it, maybe you can't do it. I hear Ubuntu is distributing OpenZFS. Basically under the Sosumi.
Just a package install away.
Which sort of comes down to who would sue them. Well, who owns who has the copyright on the kernel?
The Linux Foundation.
No, it's actually several thousand contributors.
Yeah.
So you need to get several
No,
thousand.
I'm thinking of trademark.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My
the copyright on the Linux kernel code, because the way the GPL works is, you created code, you automatically get the copyright on it, but then you say, but I license it freely. And if someone violates that license, you, the creator of that code, can go sue them. Who's the owner of the kernel code that's relevant here? Who the hell knows? So it's kind of a mess.
Well, is it more than just a kernel module? Does it require other changes to other parts of the
It's solely, well, it's 2 kernel modules, but it's solely a kernel module.
Okay, 'cause it sounds like then it falls in the same category as a lot of drivers do, where they're not included by default, but then the Ubuntu installer will just like, oh, you have an NVIDIA card, here you go.
It's well, yeah, well, find me a kernel that includes the NVIDIA. Well, NVIDIA there.
They don't include it; they install it really quick.
Well, yeah, and there are distros like
Or-
Arch. They will not give you an OpenZFS module, but they'll tell you how to do it yourself. You can do it yourself. Here's the thing: you can always do it yourself. You can take Linux, you do whatever you want to it. As long as you don't redistribute it, you can do whatever you want. GPL only applies if you're redistributing it. Oh, I do have a slide on Fuse. Fuse is terrible. I'm not saying it's poorly implemented. I'm saying it's terrible by nature. You have to go in and out of kernel space. It's burn a lockup. You can't boot from it. You can read. You can use ZFS through. There is a Fuse module. You can't boot from it. It's totally like no legal questions there. That's why it exists. But I don't actually know if it's maintained because Fuse is terrible. The kernel, the
Getting
better.
Like it's not
It is
as bad.
It is inherently bad because of the need for the in Fuse, when you do a file operation, the kernel needs to talk to user space, and user space needs to talk back to the kernel. Does that sound like a deadlock or a potential deadlock? You bet it does, and that's just the nature of how Fuse works.
I want to say there was at least talk somewhere about using like BPF to do some Fuse stuff, which would be cool.
A lot, so ZFS already uses BPF, I know, because of compiler errors. A lot of kernel modules are trying to move to eBPF because it's way better for porting. Less code to write, and all that. eBPF is neat. Programming without programming.
It's also supported on Windows now.
Okay, I'm going to pretend you didn't say that.
What is BPF?
It's a like
Berkeley
bytecode VM
Packet filter.
that runs in the
Inside,
kernel space
yeah.
that can do.
A bunch of things.
It used to be a Berkeley packet filter, so it was like a firewall bytecode processor thing, and then the it got extended, and now it can do many other things. in
It's
the
it's a very lightweight VM. Think
VM
VM
in
like
like
Java VM that
Yeah.
runs in the kernel.
Uh,
So you can write more portable modules that are less crash prone.
because it's like memory safe and there's
sounds-
restrictions on looping and like locks and
It sounds
stuff.
terrifying is what it does.
It's one of those like
It's simpler. Quote.
computers like computer like I have a computer science degree, and there's people with like masters in computer science, and then there's people who have like 6 masters in math. Like those are the people who are working with eBPF.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be better for the user, not like the end user, but the people writing the module, not the kernel authors.
Well, supposedly, I think one key is it allows you to inject code into the kernel, but it's limited in what it can do. So
Yes.
it's safe. It can't have bad pointers that crash your system.
Yeah,
by-
it's like
by
that
its design.
memory
So you
protection
inject
and all
like
that.
special trace points that trace kernel functions into the kernel arbitrarily. The
That's,
remember
because that was the,
Safe is a goal, not a guarantee.
yeah.
I
Safety's
think
never.
the way PDT is designed, it's like
Well,
sort of.
because that was the original intent, was, it was like a packet filter, but let's filter kernel events so we can trace what's
Right.
going on, and it sort of grew into this, well, we can write entire modules like
Yeah.
this.
So there is a lot of safety guarantees where it's safe to
It's-
load
it's
arbitrary user code. and
Safety
run it in the kernel.
guarantees and
So, I think it's more
mathematical,
Yeah, Rust, it's
guarantees.
like the way that memory management in Rust is safe.
yeah, it's, someone will find a way to screw it up. Someone always does. Okay,
That'd be a good CTF challenge.
so, what the heck is an out-of-tree module? OpenZFS is an out-of-tree module. It's any module that wasn't built with the kernel sources. So your distro may have a package. That's highly unlikely, but it might. There may be an unofficial repo, Debian PPA and Arch AUR and
The other
Copper.
things.
Fedora's,
The
well,
Copper stuff.
Was Rocky on it?
I don't know. Anyways, many distros have unofficial repos. There might be an out of tree. There might be OpenZFS in one of those repos. Is it up to date? Who the heck knows? Maybe. There might be a little, not quite as useful, not a built version, but instructions, not really instructions. There may be a package file or a source RPM that you can just run to get an out-of-tree module that matches your repo. Whatever. Why did I write meta on this slide? Okay. Done on this slide, but another slide, pin your kernel. You have to pin your kernel. Modules are built for a very specific kernel. Not just a major version, not just a minor version, not just a patch version, but your exact build. The kernel build isn't reproducible. People are working on that. So you need to keep, it is on the slide. Keep your kernel, you need to keep your kernel pinned. You need to update. I have a demo. Let's do the demo. Because I remember what this demo is.
Can you tie it into DKMS so that it recompiles when it needs to?
Probably.
Yes. Firefox is in the wrong window.
We don't need one.
Run Firefox, please. Okay, so
We don't need to worry about previous shit.
yeah, that's not the entirety of Firefox, but
No, it wraps around.
It wraps around.
yeah, it's
It's okay.
Good projector.
It's the projector stuck
You're
around.
just way too smart.
okay. My kernel's out of date, and pretty sure ZFS is out of date. I say that because I left them out of date for this talk. So I'm going to try and remember. Yes, I'm going to go to the. Remember I said naming is difficult? The Arch user repository is not a package repository. It's a package build file repository. There are no packages in here, just instructions how to make them. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to see what version of ZFS they are on. They are on 2.3.1, which I believe is latest, but I don't really care what OpenZFS is on because if this hasn't updated, I'm not going to go try and do it myself. Then I'm going to go back to this terminal and I'm going to run things as package build. This is just a thing I do so I don't pollute my PGP chain. And I'm going to go to my checkout.
Do you use boot environments?
No. What was I going to do? I was going to build this, which is, well, first I was going to not use two terminals this small. Branch is up to date. Good, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to lock. I have checked out ZFS 2.3.1. Was that what we just read on the other page? Yes, so this is up to date. I'm going to build this. I'm not going to build this. I'm going to go to Linux. I don't remember where I put Linux. Where am I? There it is.
There's a command for that.
Shush. Okay, this is not. I'm off the Arch user repository. This is the Arch. This is the package build for the kernel in Arch. This demo is for Arch because I run Arch. I'm also not saying this is probably not the best way to do this. This is just how I ended up doing it. I'm going to build the kernel. Why do I need to build the kernel? Well, I don't really. If the mirrors still have this old kernel that OpenZFS needs, by old I mean it's actually the latest, but if the kernel updates and OpenZFS hasn't, I need this old kernel, and the mirrors are good at deleting old things because it just takes up space. So I could just go find an old copy of the kernel from Arch, or I could just build it myself because I know that works. Except I'm going to pull a cooking show, and this takes half an hour, so here's one I prepared earlier. If we look for the package called Linux, the package, in fact, here's several I built earlier, so I am on 6.12.10, which you can see I built here. Latest is, latest as of a few days ago was 6.13.8, which I have already built because nobody wants to see me compile for half an hour.
There's a 6.14.4 now.
Right, so here's the problem. 6.14 is out.
Yeah.
Then Arch is pretty quick to release 6.14.
But
Then
this-
OpenZFS needs to make sure that
Synchronize.
everything works,
Makes
and
sense.
then
Yeah.
and then the AUR package maintainer
Has to be
has to
tweaked.
bring in the OpenZFS changes.
Yeah.
It's kind of, this whole
Gotcha.
downstream that you don't normally get to see how the sausage is made. Yeah, there's
You're gonna build
you
something.
got to check all these things. Okay, so I've already built Linux. Now I'm going to build ZFS utils, which doesn't need.
Is that like a helper script you have, extra x86 build?
It's just like this.
Is it, but that's your alias, it doesn't, is that pays from something, or is that something you have?
Oh, that's okay. You really have two questions here. ZFS utils builds the user space utilities. It's like on this laptop, if I try and make an XFS file system, it won't work. The kernel supports XFS, but I don't have the user space utility to make XFS. So ZFS utils is all user space. This I can build, and to answer your question, this command is the Arch just build it command. One of them, it's confusing.
Is that, what is that from? Is that like from one of the like Pac-Man util packages?
DevTools is the package you install.
Is that
to
a
get
command
this.
or a script?
It's a symlink to a script.
Okay.
So you can just run package build. I run this, it runs it in a container.
Okay.
Oh, they actually containerizes it, that's
Yeah.
nice. Like
So I know the build environment.
fruit or like container?
Systemd nspawn.
Ooh, fun. That's cooler actually.
Well, I was going to say, which you will see in my title, it's down there.
Which is down there.
And there's some Unicode
Ah.
characters I don't have the font for. So, anyways, I'm gonna check 231. I'm gonna build this. I think actually maybe I already did. This build's pretty quick. Pending PSU Wi-Fi. I forgot there were updates. So this is basically in making a tiny Arch install so I can do a nice isolated clean build. The extra script is what the actual package mirrors, not mirrors, the image, the actual package build infrastructure uses, which is why I use it. And I forgot there were updates.
Gotta love guest Wi-Fi.
Should be fairly fast.
So I can say for the runtime drawbacks of using lots of RAM and, yeah, a little bit slower, and the, the more complex capacity planning, you're getting so much more reliability as a result. Or
So much reliability.
So much reliability. I don't want to say more to compare to some other folks. So you're getting a lot of reliability, and so it's worth the drive capacity planning, and like you said,
Storage
it freely
is
gives
cheap.
back memory once the kernel asks for it.
It's the other thing. If you do a free dash H, I have 2 terminals. I could do that.
Multitasking? No.
Yeah, right. Like I have 3 gigs in buffers and cache. Right. That's used RAM, but I can get it back. I can get it back really easily. I can do a command, or I can just wait. It'll free up when I need it. I don't.
If you do like Echo 3 to proc.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah.
I've done that a lot. mostly on servers run by idiots.
So now it's compiling.
Now it's compiling.
Does it do a parallelize? Does it do like the make flags thing?
This
Jobs, or does it default to 1?
defaults to 1, but I set it to however many cores I have.
J.
I have 2 terminals.
Dash J, whatever.
Let's see. Package build? No.
Package 5?
Make package. This thing. So I set it to 16 because you want to.
So the 2-core, is it 8-core CPU, 2 threads? You just do LS CPU, I think.
That tells you.
There you go.
It's fun to see. I was going to say it's fun to see it compile, but I'm pretty sure it's done. It's almost done.
Almost.
This you want to get the fans going. Kernel goes for half an hour. Okay. Is it done yet?
Oh no.
Oh, okay. So that's one of the side effects of using the official build script is it thinks it's building an official package, and it goes, wait, I can't check. It's fun when you build the kernel because it goes, you already built the kernel. It's like, yeah, but I'm building my kernel.
So it tries to look for it in the official repos, and that's why it died? Or that's what it's complaining about?
Something like that.
Check package is the thing that they are.
Seems like an archism, though,
Yeah.
more than.
So yeah, there's a lot of archisms in here. Your distro does everything differently. Unless you run Arch, in which case
So what's
we
the
might
thing?
still do everything differently. There's more than one way to run OpenZFS as an Arch. Also, there's a way that just does this for you, and I just did it myself because.
What did you just build here?
I
Which one of
just
those?
built
Utils debug.
this one.
Yeah.
2.3.1. Yeah, it's got 3 file extensions on it. I didn't really need to build that. To build this. Now I'm going to use my command history because I can never remember all of this. Is this even-
Oh, because you have to like link it to all of the previous builds.
You must. Where's N? There it is. I don't normally use this keyboard. So, extra build. So, build command. This took me a while. I don't want to pass this flag to the build command. I want to pass it to the command it's running. So that's 2 dashes. And then I want to include Linux. Linux 13.8 Arch 1 package, and then same thing for the headers. I forgot this flag once and spent 3 days trying to figure out my eBPF error because I was building. If you don't give it the header, let me actually finish the command. Linux.
So you got two hyphens on the second
No,
capital
that's
I.
intended.
No, that was not intended.
Oh, wait.
That
Oh,
one.
over there. The one, the
Linux.
part of it I can't see.
Linux headers. 13. Okay, that one tab complete because there are a bunch of logs. One package build file built 3 packages. Built the kernel, the debug kernel, all the debug stuff, and the headers. If you don't include that, include that. This is important. I don't actually know if you need the kernel. You need the headers. You really need the headers. And also, for some reason, you need, and this is the real reason I do it in the container, is so I can install a different kernel. It's not actually running, but a different set of headers from what I'm currently running. Not Linux, ZFS, utils.
Did the stock build? I just ran the build script, yeah. That was kernel module and utils. Oh, time demands being funky.
Yes, is that right? Okay, everyone check.
Consistent.
They should all be package tars.
Yep.
Weird wrapping. It shouldn't take too long. Although I will tell you, if you give it the wrong headers, it might build. Might work, might not work.
Can you tell us what you have learned about capacity planning?
SD cards are too small.
Yeah, so
Do you do any of the fancy over, under provisioning, whatever?
no, I run a very boring.
You got plenty of RAM. Just make some block devices in your RAM space and just go with that.
Temps and RAM, temps real fast. This slab, I don't worry about it here because, where is it? This laptop has a terabyte, and I use, where's root?
Very small.
That one.
I don't use this laptop very much. Mostly my stuff goes on my NAS. And my NAS has, clicky interface and bar graph and a squiggly line that goes up and down. And occasionally it beeps at me and the light turns red. And that usually means it's full or near full. Yeah. So I use pretty vanilla ZFS on this laptop. I gotta put it some other places, do some fun stuff. I did take a snapshot at one point, and then I realized if I go back to that, that's like months. I don't want to do that. I do.
It'll take months to restore the snapshot, or what? You can just mount the snapshot, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, you can mount a snapshot. If you just want something out of the snapshot, you mount it
Yeah.
and just pull the thing out, or
Right.
you can revert to it, and that's pretty quick. I've never actually done that. The QNAP device has a nice feature where all the snapshots are automatically mounted in a directory called recently snapshot, so you just go in there. And you can also in Windows do the right click and see previous versions. I've never done that because that's atrocious. And skip. Warning, we don't care. Okay, so now I would install these. I could install these. I'm decently confident this would work, but we have more slides and I don't want to reboot. That's my exciting demo. I compiled some stuff and there's a package now. Here, let's actually.
Yeah, you built it.
It's a package.
So you build it into the kernel packages? You build your own?
So I would install.
Did you install it, are you creating a new kernel archive and everything? Or are you creating a dedicated package for the module and adding it?
It's a dedicated package for the module. Upgrade. No, why? Heck, man. Oh, because I'm still my build user. Let's be me. This is the command. Yes, this absurdity. Not gonna
Okay, so
run
you
that.
have to upgrade the kernel header package.
So at this point, I would install the kernel and ZFS Linux, which is OpenZFS, and ZFS utils. So the 3 main packages I just built. I would install those.
And they all have to be upgraded together at once.
They all got to go together. And Pacman is smart enough to know to rebuild the initial RAM disk once after they're all installed, not 3 times. Slides. Where did my slides go? Are these the slides? Yes. We're done with this slide because we did the demo. Root on ZFS. If your kernel, I guess that's the thing. If you're actually running OpenZFS in your kernel, you can boot from it. If you do this, my recommendation is to. You'll need 2 things. One, your installer, whatever you're installing from, needs to support ZFS. So you can't just plug in the regular Arch installer and make. You can't do anything with ZFS. You can't make the pools and the other things that you need. So you need to build that same pack. So here's the fun part: you need to install Arch without ZFS, build those packages, and then build an installer that has those packages, which is actually really easy. There's one command. And keep that installer around for when you screw something up.
Because it's Arch.
Because nothing else
Right, if you
will be
boot
able
something-
to
if you
recover
boot
your
something
system.
without
Yeah.
ZFS support, you
Yeah.
won't be able to mount the root.
What is
at
this?
that.
It's a bunch of random
Yeah.
bytes. I don't understand. So keep that around.
Any good live CDs with ZFS?
That was my question.
If
Well,
you
that
have
would
a
be
di-
distributed too, yeah.
Well,
If you have
You
a,
can make
if
your
you have
own.
a disk drive, you know.
the Arch installer. Well, this is kind of weird. The Arch install media is just a lie. It just drops you in a shell. It says you figure it out. So like, I guess Fedora, that's right. Fedora, I mean, any Linux installer can be a live system. Just switch to a different console. I've done that lots of times. But like Ubuntu, I just keep Ubuntu on a stick just in case I need. It has some weird kernel options. Keep that around for reasons.
So you're saying that this is a manual event from an installer, except for USD?
And Ubuntu.
Yeah, I don't know how the Ubuntu, I haven't installed Ubuntu in a long time, so I don't know how that.
But even with Ubuntu though, it only lets you can't mirror like 2 disks at install time ZFS, can you?
If the installer includes support for it, then what you have to do is you break out of the installer and just,
Yeah,
they offer it as a live disk, so if it has the ability to set it up at install time, the kernel module should be there. So if you drop out of the installer, you would typically be able to then read the volume if you know the command is made.
Yeah, you have
Or
to do it
set
yourself.
up whatever custom partition.
Yeah, it's
so
just
they
like
kind
if you
of
wanted a
add it
different
in the kernel
partition
so it
layout.
boots.
Like, because for whatever reason the Fedora installer defaults to a 16 gig. Like, here's your 16 gigs. I'm like, my disk's bigger than that.
Does it still do that?
I haven't used Fedora in a while.
Yeah.
So I always do partitioning myself. Okay, what else do we need? /needs can mount equals no auto. That won't make any sense if you've never done this. It's one of those -O. I don't remember if it's capital or lowercase. It's what?
Lowercase.
Lowercase O. Thank you. Your root partition on Linux needs can mount equals no auto because the root partition is mounted by the initial RAM disk. ZFS isn't run. The kernel isn't running yet. Any documentation.
It is running. Sort of.
The whole. You need that. Any documentation on setting up ZFS on Linux will tell you, buried somewhere in there, that you need that. I just want to call it out. Can mount has 3 options: yes, no, and no auto, which is just kind of the weird one. And then also, if you're running systemd, I didn't say that, but if you're running systemd, varlog needs ACL type POSIX. Systemd will not accept not having POSIX ACLs in varlog. It will just crash. an example, I remember what example was, it's not a demo. This is quite simply me showing you my command line, which is really short. ZFS equals root, and NRD's microcode, and then NRMS. So that's it. ZFS equals root. You can also give it some other flag, but you just give it the.
How does ZFS handle swap files or swap
Poorly.
files? Ah,
Go again, further slide.
okay.
Let me finish this one. Bootloader, you need to make sure that your bootloader config includes ZFS, so it's an optional module. It might not be enabled by default, so make sure you include that. The usual, if you're doing encryption, include the keyboard support so you can type in the passphrase. And then just ZFS instead of root equals, that's the difference. I also learned there's this whole runaround. The kernel, if you look up what you can set root to, all the documentation says, oh, it's in this C source file. Really? I mean, go look. The file doesn't exist anymore. They moved it. So you can actually put a label, a partition label here. Everyone thinks you have to put like a device or a UUID. You can just put a label. You just put root equals root. It works. I can't demo it.
That seems brittle.
I like labels. They're short. Your question is not on the next slide, and I thought it was. What was your question?
Swap.
Swap. All right, that's on the feature side. We're going to ignore that until we get to that slide. This slide's for Russell, RTFM. See, heckling works both ways, because in your talk, you didn't RTFM, and it didn't work.
I don't remember.
Okay, the docs are there. There's also man pages. They're literally the same thing, but it helps that they're online. You could just phone, separate computer, read the docs.
How would you rate them?
What?
How would you rate the docs?
So you can do.
Good, bad?
Oh, how would I rate the docs?
Yeah.
Good. They're a bit lengthy, but they cover what they need to. I will say since they are just man pages, you need to start at the top. Start with ZPool concepts and ZFS concepts. Read those. They are quite long. You can sort of skim past all the options that they go over, but at least read the top part where you can sort of get your head around what is all this stuff. And then you can dive into like ZPool create, because it'll immediately start talking about options. You have no idea what's going on. And then just to note, ZPool, there's only two commands. There's ZPool and ZFS. Ignore the other ones, they're for debugging. And then space create, space list, the usual ones. They're documented in ZPool dash create, makes sense. And then these incredibly long pages about the ZPool props and the ZFS props, those are the -O flags. It's good to look through all those. You'll know about what is ACL type POSIX, what is A time off, what is XADDR equals SA, what are all these things that are in the Arch band page that are telling, the Arch wiki says, you should set all these flags to their defaults, and then it lists them, and I go, those aren't the defaults anymore. Should probably go update that. This is my little hint, is this one, if you read the man page, it's basically, you should turn that on. It's pretty cool. In Linux, at least. So, read it there. No, really, read. I forgot I put that point. No, really, read the documentation. Everything is explained in the documentation if you just read it. It's not terribly much. There are some confusing points. Naming is difficult. ZPool export. What's an export? It's not like an NFS export. No, it literally means I'm not using this pool. Detach. Like, so like if I want to take this SD card out, I should export that pool.
Is that mounting then at that point? Would that be equivalent?
It's so that So for instance, if you have a couple drives in there, you have a mirror set up, all that, you can conveniently take it out of that system and out of that Linux install and put it on a whole nother computer with a whole nother Linux install. You've installed ZFS on the ZFS package.
So it's really useful, especially in like if you had to boot a live system to recover something, you'll need to import your pool. It's do stuff with it and then export it, so it's cleanly detached from the system. So I just did an export of the SD card, so I should be able to take it out now. I mean, there's nothing on it. I don't care. Not. Oh no, my copy, Big Buck Bunny. Where did I put the holder? Okay.
Raider Ray on your SD card.
Yeah. There was, I don't know if you
It's gonna
noticed,
break
there
now.
was actually an old-fashioned MD
Yeah,
Ray on that
we saw it.
as a joke. So yeah, that just, it cleanly, it unmounts everything, which, by the way, the unmount command, it's not on the slide, is called unmount. It has the N in it.
It has both.
It's not umount.
It
it's
has both.
unmount.
It
The-
should be unmount.
If you look, the man page though is only unmount.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Actually, I don't know if umount.
Is it an OpenZFS edition?
Umount
Yeah, I
should
don't
be
know.
named unmount.
Yeah, I don't. Vowels are expensive, or it's not even a vowel. N's are expensive now. I don't. Yeah, it's like password. Why did we take? Why did we leave both S's but take 2 letters out of word? Naming is difficult.
Should have named it pud.
Pud.
Take all the letters out.
We already have a pud though.
Replace it.
Oh,
You gotta change your password.
Okay, so yes, export, and then if I wanted to use that SD card again, I would import, and it mounts everything automatically. I'm just gonna leave. ZFS doesn't swap well on Linux. There's this whole thing about it. You can get it to work in certain ways. Absolutely, like, you can get it to work. I didn't bother. I have 120 gigs RAM. I didn't bother. You can get it to work. You can also just not use ZFS for swap. Just use a traditional swap partition. With the caveat that ZFS is expecting whole drives. It's expecting to have exclusive access to the drive. It works perfectly fine if it's shared with other file systems. Its queues and its buffering is all optimized for exclusive access to the drive. And then I want to make this point because people say this, oh, you should put ZFS on the whole drive, don't partition it. It says right in the man page, if you point ZFS at a drive, it will create a partition table and a partition and use the partition. It's right in the man page, people. Okay. That was a little,
So it expects to be the only partition on a drive.
yeah,
Gotcha.
partition for the whole drive, again, because the kernel complains.
This is for I/O scheduling purposes.
Yes. But it works. It works.
Yeah,
It's
right.
just not optimal. Yeah.
Also, if you, I think there's an option within Zpool create to have it like leave to not use different than quota, but to completely not use like a gigabyte or something at the end of the disk, at the end of the drive, so that if you replace it with exact same size
Yeah,
from
it's not actually the same size.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah, because you buy 3 terabyte hard drive and another 3 terabyte hard drive, they're slightly different sizes. Wait till the last slide, second to last slide. Are we done with the slide? Yes, okay, and then more because I ran out of space. Naming is difficult. You should set up your cache file, which has nothing to do with caching. Cache file, because if you have a bajillion disks and some of them have ZFS and some of them don't, it's a file that helps ZFS know where all the pools are. It's good, you don't have to set that up, it's just faster if you do. And I deliberately left that ambiguous because I set it up, I forgot how we did it. Read the documentation. This is not a tutorial. And everything I've said comes from the documentation somewhere. If I sound like a broken record, for those of you who remember records, read the documentation. Okay. 3 slides, and I remember what's on all of them, mostly. These are some tips I have that have nothing to do with ZFS. If you're erasing FlashJS, use block to skirt. It calls the low level on SATA, it's trim command to just dump the blocks. It doesn't write all zeros.
This is an alternative to DDing 0 over.
Yeah, so if you DD 0 into flash memory,
Yeah.
you use up a write cycle.
Yes.
If you block discard, it will just dump the blocks. It's also super fast. It takes seconds. It basically, you try block discard, and if it tells you it doesn't support that command, then you go back to DD or PV or whatever you want to do. Some SSDs have a fake sector size. Basically, disks for the longest time had 512 byte sectors. And when SSDs came along and said, well, it's actually more effective if we have 4 kilobyte sectors. Well, we know a lot of software won't support that, so we're going to make fake sectors. There's a command called NVMe, real creative, that you can change it. I don't have any drives like this, so I don't have an example. But if you look, I'd say read the man page, but this one is kind of obtuse. There are examples online of using NVMe format to change the native block size. And then the last point is back up your data. RAID is not backup. RAID is not backup. RAID is not backup. ZFS is not backup. A second ZFS is backup by itself. Yes,
All the
321
321
backups,
strategy.
all that. It's still a file system. The laws of the universe still apply. If it burns down while I'm here, I lose all my data because my backup drive is sitting on top of my ass. Very effective. Okay.
It just gives you for the three copies of your data, that just gives you 1 more copy. You still need.
Yeah, 3 copies sitting next to each other is not the 2-1 part.
Yeah,
3,
you
2,
need
1.
one off site and on 2 different types of media. Then 3 different copies.
Yeah, so when backing up ZFS, is there a way to keep track of like that deduplication knowledge, or do you have to, do you lose that?
So, you can do a traditional backup. You can do rsync, which is what I do because I back up to XFS just so I don't have to deal with ZFS if I need to. If I'm in some situation where I don't have a box with ZFS. One of the cool features that didn't make it onto a slide, ZFS lets you take a snapshot. So take a snapshot. You can send that snapshot to another ZFS system.
Like over the network? Just
Over the,
like
it's
photo?
just a byte stream. Over the network, over SSH.
Like pipe tar into SSH kind of deal?
Yeah. Actually, fun fact, you can, XFS has a tar-like command called XFS dump, where you can dump the entirety of XFS. But yeah, you can, and it's a point-in-time consistent snapshot. So you take a snapshot and you stream it somewhere, it is guaranteed to be consistent.
Is it doing rsync like diff stuff, or is it you're moving all the data?
Well, initially you're moving all the data, but I think,
Does it do like
I
the
mean,
transport stuff?
I
Or
don't
does
know.
it just spit out?
it just,
It's
you
like
have to do the
opaque
transport
tar,
yourself. The examples pipe it into SSH.
Gotcha. So probably no diff stuff then.
I don't know, I've never done it. I just use rsync.
It's rsyncy
No,
doing,
it's block level diff.
But, okay.
so it's just sending all the data.
It does initially all the data, then the exact differential at every step you've snapshotted.
I'm sure
Oh,
this.
right,
I'm
right,
sure
right.
this would
Yeah.
become clear if I had read the documentation, which I haven't.
So I have another question, and that is, do hard links exist in ZFS?
Hard links exist in any POSIX compliant file system.
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
ZFS is.
It has a POSIX layer for
Yeah.
POSIX and stuff.
Okay.
It's natively it sort of does away with the stuff nobody cares about.
Yeah.
But it's yes. I mean
You can
you
get it
don't
back.
you don't care because you have deduplication. But yeah, any POSIX file system has.
What even uses hard links anymore?
I use hard
Dervish.
links all the time.
My backups use Dervish, so that's
Yeah.
a key part of
Right.
Huh.
I use rsync with the ability to literally, it hardly the entire structure of what it rsync last time. And that becomes, so only changed files get recopied over.
Right.
It's a great way to do backups with rsync and nothing fancy.
Annoyingly, unless permissions change or ownership change
Yeah,
or any of the other
that'll
things.
that'll hold a
Yeah.
copy of the files,
Yeah, yeah,
permission
yeah, yeah.
changed, which
Yeah.
is.
My-
Postgres upgrades use hard links to all the files in the file system so that it knows which files, when it's going through the upgrade process and touching the first byte of each file.
Look at that, it's like a community of Linux and Unix users.
So ZFS send, you say the pool name and like whatever, like snapshot or data set, whatever, and you just do the pipe character and then straight into your like your remote thing. So like you could do like a local drive or SSH, whatever.
Okay,
I just did that.
me too. I haven't sent a snapshot anywhere. Okay, there are 2 slides left. The last one is a meme, but the next one is a rant.
Bring it.
If I haven't been doing that already. The metric system has existed for hundreds of years in some form. K is lowercase, it's 1,000. M is uppercase, it's 1,000,000, etc., etc. The JDAC prefixes were invented. They're different. They're powers of 2. The 1024, the 1024 times 1024. They have different pronunciations: kibby, mebby, gibby, tebby, pebby, which are hilarious. People, especially hard drive manufacturers,
Yes.
love to mix these things up.
Yes.
Okay,
Marketing.
stop it. Okay, the first row, the first line, the second line are different. Also, capitalization matters. Billion, mega is capital M. Little m is milli.
Billy, yeah.
Right? Right? There is no little g prefix. Okay, little g is gram. Okay?
My hard drive weighs about 1,000 grams.
Yeah, something like that.
How
And then,
much could I fit in there?
again, capitalization matters. Capital B is a byte, lowercase b is a bit. If somebody tells me they have 8,000 millibits,
Yeah.
that's a byte. Stop it.
The little g is when it's on one of those HAMR drives and they shrunk it down. It's still a gigabyte, but it's physically smaller.
You're assuming a byte has 8 bits.
Yes, so
It's not a word.
an octet, but
Yeah.
C, I've been working with some low-level data and the weird things C did. C basically said a byte is 8 bits, even though it might not be. So we're kind of stuck with it. But lowercase b is a bit. There's no such thing as thousandths of a bit. Doesn't make any sense. Stop it. Stop it. You have to check a lot of man pages for the suffixes. Does it take M? Is M 1,000,000 or 1,024 times
Did you say the
1,024?
last slide was a rant? Because this is
No,
a
this
rant
is the
already.
this
Oh,
is the
okay.
rant. The next
All right.
slide, the last slide is a meme.
Because I was wondering what the next slide.
No, this is yeah. Just it annoys me. Also, this annoys me too. This K is lowercase, this K is uppercase. There's also, and I left it off the slide. Please don't use this. Uppercase K is 1,024. That dates back to floppies. And here's a fun fact for you. What size is a floppy disk?
What are we talking
Flop.
about and what year is
Okay,
it?
so when somebody says
144K.
1.44 megabytes floppy disk, which mega is it? The answer is neither. It's 1,440 kibibytes because it's 2,880 sectors. And that carried on. CDs aren't 700 megabytes. DVDs aren't 9 gigabytes. They're neither of. Okay.
So you're missing one for you're missing one for half a byte or a nibble.
Yes, there's also a nibble, and I don't care if you spell it with an I or Y or uppercase or lowercase, because if you're talking about nibbles, you've already mentioned a bunch of assembly, and I've lost track. Okay, this is the last slide. This is the meme. That's my talk. point where, even though you've all been talking, somebody still has a question.
I have a question. Do you
Your
want-
furniture.
I have furniture. Do you want, now that you're done, 20 minutes of advanced topics?
Next one,
Oh,
next
no,
month.
I'm here, I'm furniture. Remember, you said it, I read it on a bus.
I don't know if you did it, I don't know if you ended up doing a full file, but I did one here with J8 flags, and it took about 4 minutes for the whole kernel module and utils. It's just been Slackware as a unified package, it looks like, so it's just the whole thing is 4 minutes.
Yeah, the building the modules, not very long. Building the utilities is even shorter. It's building the kernel that takes forever.
And the Arch kernel has like everything in it, or a lot of stuff in it, right?
It's
You shouldn't have to, though.
It's pretty vanilla. There's one patch, I don't know why. It's like the weirdest random things.
So
Or
you-
it's like
pretty-
it's got
it's-
like a lot of
It's gonna
modules.
module, yeah, build all the modules for every conceivable hardware.
Yeah, I just
Some
definitely.
have to
Some
build a kernel,
large
right?
amount.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
even
most
the
distros
even the
use your
default
own
kernel
Give them your
has
own
has
tape,
like,
presumably.
oh, you need tape drives, right? This guy does.
I need my Mellanox module because maybe I'll plug a 10 gig card in 5 years.
Maybe it'll be Mellanox. I have. Windows doesn't ship with network drivers anymore.
Oh, why, because they had bugs in them? It kept
No,
being
they
remote
ship with
access?
like the Realtek drivers and the Intel 1 gig driver, and that's it. So my Windows install stick also has the Intel 10 gig driver on it because
That's just
that's what I
a
have.
For avoiding the print nightmare problem.
it's annoying because I can't get online to get drivers.
More questions?
I do have
Yes,
maybe a
they
couple,
will.
couple more advanced questions on ZFS if you want. So, I remember this back from way back when Sun was in control with Open Solaris and all the fun stuff. They were demoing why ZFS is so great. One of the things they showed was it integrated, just when you started like all the automatic stuff with mounting, it also had integration on Solaris with NFS. So you could just simply go like ZFS, some flag, and then export it, and immediately that
I
folder.
think that's still there.
So I'm not sure if that is integrated with Linux or not, or if you do extra work to integrate the NFS exporting.
Pretty sure that's still there.
And another kind of related to that is, it was at the time the NFS version 4 was really just coming out. So they were pushing how it supports NFS version 4 natively, and that whereas everything at the time would be going towards POSIX ACLs, which are just read, write, execute for mini users and mini groups, to NFS version 4 ACLs, which are extraordinarily more complicated, designed to support both Windows NTFS style ACLs plus all the Unix ACLs. So supposedly ZFS supported native, really it was NTFS.
ACLs, one of the flags you set, like POSIX ACL, ACLs can be stored in 2 different places. That's what one of the flags I mentioned. So you can basically do whatever you want. Here's the thing. My main ZFS installation is shared via Samba. Samba doesn't know all this fancy ACL stuff.
Mhm.
It's just read write, basically.
Yeah. Well, in theory, part of the question is, I don't know if Linux has to support it or not, but yeah, supposedly it's far more flexible than the standard POSIX ACLs, and I just don't know if that's still preserved in modern ZFS with Linux. And
I guess the question is, because you're talking about Solaris,
yeah, I mean,
does the Linux implementation of NFS v4 support extended ACLs?
yeah, I mean, the NFS
Probably, because I know in XFS, ACLs are in the metadata too.
So, I'm not sure, yeah, how much of that they were able to keep or preserve, but yeah, supposedly we're gonna support modern ACLs that is compatible with Windows, so that you don't have to think about whether you're on limited POSIX or the fully complicated NTFS style.
NTFS permissions are something.
You have 18 different permissions for each file.
Permissions for each file, for each user in a tree, and also the permissions, like you can delete permissions without having read permission, like what?
Yeah.
Since Michael offered, I would love to see how to create a D-RAID VDEV using file-based virtual drives.
Say all that
So
again,
you
but
can
like
use-
slowly.
You can use DD to make and go from dev 0 to make a disk using, that's
A
basically
loop.
a file,
A
a loop
loop,
device.
yeah.
And then 64 megs is the minimum that ZFS will actually use, and then you can
Fun
stream
fact,
it-
just 300 for XFS.
Yeah, and then you can actually, like, put like 5 of those together and make like a RAID Z3 pool. And
So you don't need loop devices, and you don't need, well, you don't need loop devices because ZFS will it will use files like block devices. They say it's for experimentation only.
yes,
What makes everything is a file?
Regular files, lowercase f files.
but I mean, that would be a cool demonstration to see.
And truncate might do it for you with FDD, if there's truncated.
Okay, let's make some files. Yeah, what's a quick way to make a largish empty file?
Truncate.
Hey, I have truncate. So I just make empty files and then tell it to make them a size?
Truncate dash S, 1 gig,
Yes.
file name.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Does it take suffixes? Are they going to be a gigabyte or a gigabyte?
That's a good question.
So let's Nectar
Depends on the capitalization.
and let's do touch very creatively 0.
I don't think you need to touch to do truncate. Truncate will create the file.
That's okay. How big did it make it?
Woohoo!
Well, let's. LS and truncate are using the same unit. So I don't need a.
If you just
Yes,
DU it, you'll-
real gigabytes, the one they should be using. That's not opinion at all. I
Well,
don't know what you're talking about.
technically it should be an I if it's gigabytes though, right?
So it should, yes, it should be GI.
Yeah.
And let's see if it takes it. No.
Do a lowercase.
So that's wrong.
What if you do a lowercase g, does it?
Does it take grams? Does it do grams?
Oh, it did.
See, that's wrong.
We just created a 1 gram file.
Whoops, I missed 2. Let's do 2 again.
Oh, it treats it the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically it doesn't care about case, it
Yeah.
doesn't want the I even though it should.
Hmm.
So what if I wanted a 1 billion byte file? Type it out myself.
I think you can set block size, right? Block size equals 1,000.
I've never used truncate, that's useful, I've always used DD, this is way faster.
You're welcome.
So who's gonna implement the patch for that?
I have looked at so many man pages and every utility handles the suffixes differently. It's, okay. What do we do?
Kubernetes does do kilobytes with an I.
Really?
What does?
Kubernetes does it right.
I
Sorry.
trust them to do it right. That's right, yes, and you get the fun things like, what the heck is a millicore? Well, you could do that, because that is metric, that's 1,000, that's 1,000th of a core, not
I don't
a
even- I
10/24th
just
of
give
a
it a
core.
number.
You do what the
I don't
drive
give it a
manufacturers
unit.
do, and you avoid this problem by rounding up to the closest
Oh, yeah.
round number,
The-
and then just saying.
Drive
"It may
manufacturers
be
don't do
lower."
either. Yeah, a 3
But just
terabyte
lower.
drive.
Just plug it in and run dmesg.
3 terabyte drive is less than 3 trillion bytes. Okay, what am I doing?
RAID
One
Z2.
hand size, maybe less.
RAID Z2.
So this is where I take my own device and read the man page. Pull
Isn't it
VDEV,
in the?
because I think, because I have to tell it the RAID level before the VDEVs?
Before the.
Okay, having
And
never
did you
done
say
this.
RAID LED or D-RAID? I heard D-RAID.
We don't have no trash for you.
I mean, I can make fake files all day.
They do, they're small.
What do we want?
Pool name, new pool name.
I'm gonna call it that.
Newt. No.
I'm gonna come up, I'm gonna open this laptop later again. What is all this?
I mean, you can call it
Then-
simple, it's just like
Amphibian.
Deadpool's cousin
Then
or something.
the type, so we'll put them all into one VDEV, so like RAID Z2, let's say.
I'm trusting you on this. And then just,
And then, the,
0, 1, 2, 3.
I think it'll read the current directory. 2, 3, 4.
Oh, you missed 1,
There's no 5 either.
and there's no 5.
Off by 1 errors.
Yep.
Hey, they're all, okay, well now we
Well
need a
played.
caching problem.
I like it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. If you
Oh,
don't
right.
give it a full path, it
What if you
thinks
do
it's
dot
indefinite.
slash?
Dot slash.
Dot slash, maybe?
Does that count as a full path?
Yeah.
If not, I will give it my home directory.
It's not an absolute path.
What?
I'm clicking in dev.
Can you put like an expansion with PWG in there?
No such device in /dev though.
Oh, I see.
You can do some bash brace expansion stuff to make this easier.
Question mark.
Easier.
Question
Oh,
mark.
there you go.
Oh, hey.
Could have done that earlier too, right? Let's see, is there space in this path? I hope not.
Nope.
There we go.
Woohoo.
Oh, it didn't have a problem.
Was it V to show the
Oops.
typing?
Nice.
Here's your size, but your.
There you go.
Yeah, the free space
And
is a little.
equal status?
And specify just, yeah.
What's RAID Z2?
That is, you can have up to 2 drives fail.
It's like RAID
equivalent.
6.
Okay.
RAID
6.
Z3 would be 6.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Oh, 5 is 1 parity drive.
Something like that. yeah.
okay, for those not following along, which would be everyone because that was confusing. RAID 1 is a mirror. RAID 5 is data-data parity. RAID 6 is data-data parity. So RAID Z1 is like RAID 1. That one makes sense. RAID Z2 is like RAID 5. RAID Z3 is like RAID Z6.
You left out RAID 0.
With ZFS, then the RAID Z, the number is the number of drives that can tolerate failure.
Yes.
It's not necessarily a RAID specification.
Yeah, it's not RAID. So in RAID, it's a fixed block size. Every block parity.
It's not RAID, it's RAID Z, basically.
It's RAID
It's
like-
smart about the block sizes, the variable block sizes for speed. I think it's magic.
Well, I think part of it is it understands, like, for example, what's data, what's free space. It won't read to free space, if I understand correctly. So it's aware of the data above it, not just like regular RAID, or just every block is important.
MD won't raid the free space unless you tell it to. Hang on, let me think about that one. You can tell it on creation not to raid the free space. You'll get first time you scrub it, it'll be like this is all wrong, but you can tell it to do that. Well, it almost fits on the screen.
Oh, you have the other pools in there too.
You
Yeah.
can give just the name.
Right. So what did we call it? New pool name.
What if you DD0 onto one of those?
So I did, okay, so the demo, here's the demo I really wanted to do that I couldn't get to work. If I couldn't get the demo to work, I wasn't even gonna put it in the slides. If you if I actually
that
had
ring?
stuff
You
on
ring,
this, and I DD'd, this is one of the things I tried. Let me back up. If I had a traditional RAID, data parity, and I put random crap on
Yeah.
one of the drives, and I could do a scrub, it has no idea which one's the correct drive because it's expecting the drive to fail, and so it will pick a drive to copy from. It usually picks the first one. So I got no problem a RAID to corrupt itself with a scrub. Since ZFS checksums everything, it knows which copy is right, so I can DD onto 1 or 2 of these, and it will go, this is wrong. Let me fix it.
Question, where's the checksum stored? Some magical place on
In
the disk.
amongst,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
spread out. This,
Can you
but
do that to one of those? Because if they're all test files, if you screw one of them up, can we see what the state changes
We
to?
should put some data in there.
okay, so here's the other thing I found out in this demo because I was told at some point you could do this live and I couldn't get that to work. I can DD into one of these and scrub and ZFS doesn't care because it's blank data. So I need to actually put stuff in it.
It checks
You got that, well, you got big book money, right?
That's why I was copying it.
So if you-
It takes a while.
Sorry,
You got
so I'm
ready?
just, the wheels are
It
spinning.
is fucking 9 o'clock.
So if you DD random or something on one of those files, will it recover by itself?
It will not recover by itself. You will need to run a scrub.
Okay, and what does that look like? Z
Set pool, scrub,
something.
name of the
Yeah,
pool,
something like that, yeah.
and then occasionally check the status
Yeah.
and see how it's doing.
I bet it's in the manual.
No.
Yes, it is.
It's a.
We know how Russell
Who
feels
would
about
know?
manuals.
How far down in this, 200
And
megabyte
error
pages?
messages.
Scrub.
So, this manual page is
In mornings.
probably one of
This
the
is just
shortest
about
ones.
matches,
So, and you can tell, you can, part one of the flags you can, when you set it up, is how much scrub time versus user time.
Ah, right.
Just like a traditional RAID.
But it stays live and you can keep.
Yeah,
checking
it's
it.
online scrub.
Right.
I will let you know how that goes when one of the drives in my NAS fails, which has not happened yet. In my little free NAS box.
Could you create a file and just put like a sentence in it, take a snapshot, and then make another file?
How do we do all these things? I haven't made a snapshot in ages. Okay,
Oh, and
so,
do you need to mount the pool first?
nope, it's at
No.
new pool name.
Yeah.
Best name. I'm
Oh.
gonna,
So do they always mount at the top?
they mount at the
By
top by
default.
default. You can give it, you can tell it to mount somewhere else. There's also, you can turn, if you say, mount point, if you set the mount point to legacy,
Yeah.
it won't mount it. You can
Okay.
use the traditional fstab
Yeah.
mount commands. What were we doing? We were copying part of, actually,
Write some data to it.
let's copy,
Copy one of your kernels over there?
what did I call it? There we go.
Ah.
Tab completion's awesome. Oh no.
Because it's mounted as root.
Ah.
It's okay, just hold.
Sudo.
That's wrong.
Make me a sandwich.
You're not in the suitors file. This incident will be reported.
Nice.
It's only, it's SSD.
How big was it?
It's about a gig. It is here. It's that
Nice.
big, or in human readable numbers.
Okay, 86.
It's what it's like. I was looking. I was like, I need a test file. I need about a gig. That's about an hour. Big Buck Pony's only 20 minutes. I don't know why it's so big.
Yeah.
Right. So now we're gonna screw it up, right?
Take a snapshot first.
Oh, that's boring.
And make your backup.
So I can snapshot. Snap. That's where I look for what the snap command is called.
Snapshot.
Oh, it was there.
No,
ZFS
that was
dash snapshot.
yeah. Okay. Guess
Oh,
I probably
snap,
could have
snapshot.
figured that out. Also, I will assert the past tense of snapshot is Snapchat. Just saying.
Sure. I like that.
Some people have already left. I'm just helping along. Snapshot,
Okay.
data set, snapshot thing. Okay. Again with the really simple commands. What did we call it? New pool name.
New pool name.
Add. This is a snap. Maybe I can use underscore. I don't care. There you go. This is a snapshot. Okay. So now you want me to?
List the snapshot, and then let's create another file.
ZFS list dash T snap.
Dash D?
T for type.
Snap.
Ah.
Shot or just snap?
Snap, it should be a shorthand that's supported.
Oh, I thought I deleted those snapshots. You can tell when I made my snapshot. That was the snapshot before I tried to install Discord and Steam because they installed fine, so I never needed the snapshot.
Last year.
So you can tell. Oh yeah, it's got a used in a reefer. No, wrong kind of reefer.
So if you export that pool, does it also keep the snapshot that you took with
No,
you?
the snapshot's part of the pool, so
Why is that snap?
So does
I'm
the,
not
so
gonna
the-
do it.
is it part of the pool or is it part of the whole thing?
It's part of the pool.
So if you export, okay, so the pool is the actual,
Underlying data.
All the thing.
Yeah.
Thingy.
gotcha,
It's the pool.
Yeah.
It's where all the
Right.
stuff goes.
right.
How do you organize your backyard?
So in that used column, the reason why.
So it's
there's-
0
There's, yeah.
because we
There's
haven't
no
done
changes.
anything.
And from
Whereas
the first root
The
snapshot.
root one, I have changed 3.26 gigabytes of data
Yeah.
since I made that
Oh,
snapshot.
it keeps track, so when you make you do a snapshot and then you continue using the file system, it knows what's changed since
Yep.
you
So
made the
is it-
snapshot.
That's like the copy on
Oh.
write stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's also like I go delete that and then the used number will go up because it's in the snapshot. I can go get it back out of the snapshot.
So back to Russell's question, how do you tell how much space there is? It gets complicated the more snapshots you have.
Yeah.
How much free space you actually have.
So we could probably see that number go up then if you copied in like one of those packages you built, right? If you copy one of those in to that volume or that pool.
And
How
then
do you
take
have
another
another
snapshot.
big
And then
bunch?
you don't need, then we'd see the change.
Where did I put package builds?
So yeah, even modifying file in place could actually cause the file to literally grow because the snapshot has to now fork.
Yeah.
Oh, right, user local source. User local source package build, Linux.
Still using user local in 2025.
Keep typing, keep typing. Don't get sidetracked by the heck.
All right.
I can tell you're not gonna be unifying the file system like they want to over Debian.
I think Arch already has unified file
Yeah,
You
system.
already have.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's frustrating, the way they broke things.
Debian, I think, is the only holdout, and even that's.
Well, because
not long
DPKG
ago.
needs to be updated. They had a whole
Huh?
bug report. DPKG was the stopper
Oh.
for Debian where it apparently just completely crapped out when they tried to unify it. So they did, and then the whole package system broke.
Fun.
I don't know what's hard coded, but something in there is.
I think
not-
Fedora is about to unify SBin and bin now, or user SBin, user bin into
Mm.
just user bin, because those are still separate. Which, high time.
Also, that's interesting. That's not the package. That's the source. The
I
source
mean, you
is
just got the
bigger.
whole directory in.
The source is bigger than the package.
Got the whole directory.
I get something. I got the file name wrong somewhere because it's one up because I screwed this up when I did it.
Oh.
It's in here.
Completions are better.
Mm.
Tab.
I'm gonna just do it the dumb way because I like tab completion. User local package. No, what? User local source. That's what's wrong. Yes. Okay. I remember where I put my things. Okay.
Cool.
Why am I package build? What the heck? There we go. There you go.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
Nice. So why is it only 223K if you copied over a whole big?
No, it's just a compressed file. Compressed file.
Oh.
Yeah, the tar.exe.
Or maybe-
Scrunched
It was
down.
bigger than that. I don't know.
Is it?
Maybe it's deduplication.
What is it? What is
I don't have deduplication on, and I wouldn't expect any duplicate blocks.
How big is that file?
So is
It's
that,
like 200.
That's a snapshot in volume.
So it's 142 megabytes. It's the top line.
Oh, okay.
So maybe do a ZFS get all new pool name and pipe it into less.
Get what? Get?
Get all,
Dash.
space,
Oh, okay.
get space all, new pool name, and pipe it into less or more, whatever your favorite.
All right.
Less is more.
So, this is your friend. This is the internal database of good stuff, and it answers a lot of the questions that Russell had, such as how much is actually there, how much, and I believe like there's a POSIX representation. If you were to copy it out, you see like the 1.55 gig. It's like if you copied it to NTFS, you'd get that big versus the compression, which is internal to it. And then there's like used by snapshots, and you can kind of tap your way down and see all the different stuff. Is a time on or off, and a whole lot of goodies.
And that was get all.
Get all, it's all the
Yeah.
properties, and the properties are your friend. And do you see the written property there? Written property shows that there's been 142 megs. This is God's own property. When you are snapshotted, you hit 0. And the moment you are written 0, you know it is a fixed point in time. You can go to a courtroom and say, look, this is snapshot, this is a checksum all the way to this point and has not been written. And one is very comfortable as a sysadmin when you know that everything is in the exact state, especially a virtual machine that's been shut down, snapshotted, and will probably come back because it's your friend.
So written is the like current amount of stuff that has been written
The
after
diff.
the latest snapshot.
The diff,
Yeah.
and
The
yes.
diff.
And you mentioned deduplication. It's improved, but all good deduplication is at the application level. If the registrar sends a PDF to the 10,000 students of PCC, hopefully your mail server knows the difference between like one PDF that's identical versus the file system trying to compare bytes, compare bytes, compare bytes.
Yeah.
So ask me anything.
Ask me anything. I'm furniture.
Yes.
Oh, so that number then that used, that was in the, if you go back into what
It
you
should be there.
It was a weird name, scroll down.
Yes,
It's
scroll down,
used
just try this.
It was here, used by snapshots. So what does that mean? Because that's the value we're seeing over there.
That's the diff again.
The previous moment, maybe when he.
Because you said the down written is that 142 is the size of the file he copied over,
Since
but then the
it's not.
23K
Well,
is what's being shown in that.
My guess, if we delete that video file, then that would become part of the snapshot only, and then you'll see the snapshot used by snapshot grow, because it forks the snapshot. The snapshot has to retain only what you've modified, and it's not in the current version of the file system.
Right, the file would just go 142 megabyte file we copied in is not in the snapshot. The big file, the nearly gig file, is in the snapshot.
But it's also, it's duplicated right now because
But-
it's also the current.
That's not deduplication like ZFS normally calls it. It is,
Well, it's like the hard link style, or like,
yeah, it's in the snapshot, but since it's still there in the live file system, the snapshot. So if I delete it, the use by snapshot will go up by 800 some megs.
Can you offline one of the drives?
Offline, you mean
A
like
media?
Yeah.
delete
Oh,
the
delete one.
the
Just
drive?
RM it.
No,
Just-
offline is a command to remove it temporarily from the pool.
Yeah,
and
no,
just
I
replace
find
it
it-
with this.
Yeah,
Is that how you do hot swaps?
that's the preferred way, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a translation layer between all the MD commands and
Pull
ZFS?
device. I could have guessed
That
that.
would be handy, yeah.
I'm gonna. Wow. You know it's a demo and I can't type.
Maybe a Z-pool status and you get to see them all, and then pick one.
That's what I was going for.
And then Z-pool offline one of those devices, I suppose.
Pool name. I am copy pasting this whole
And
thing.
And Z-pool
Z-pool
status again.
Degraded!
Oh no! Eek.
Nice.
So that would also happen if you had like significant like corruption on a physical drive, right? Only, would it say offline, or would it just say degraded?
It'll kick it out at some point and offline it for you, thinking this sucker's not.
Yeah,
degraded."
because when I DD'd some things, yeah, it didn't take it offline, but I also later figured out what I was DDing to was not part of a file yet. I was DDing empty space.
Can you do that again for two more, one at a time, and then show us so that we can see if this pool dies.
We're gonna be here all night.
Yeah.
Well,
You should install ZFS and try this yourself.
I think this is gonna have to be an exercise for the students.
Yeah, at what point do we
I think
stop?
There you go.
I need to upgrade my NAS system, I'll just bring it in, we can start pulling drives out right there.
Yeah, it's more fun when you
Real
just
system,
you
yeah.
just pull.
I've got front-loaded bays, I can pull one out the front.
Well, I think one of the borders you can propose might be, in D, you can create a faulty device, where instead of being like a great device, it's designed literally to test your
It
file
just
system.
it's a little black hole for you.
Yeah, so it'll trigger like the read IO errors in your system, so if you use that in between, you can actually cause real IO errors, or the response to an IO error, as opposed to just like having, zero file. And see how it reacts to that.
So I think maybe we ought to wrap things up. And,
This is
Yeah, go install and do some stuff with your own thing. I'm just gonna export this thing because I'm gonna not know what the heck.
so, and because I have no imagination, we've been meeting at the what the hell's the name of the bar again?
Patty's.
Down
We
on
go there
First.
every month.
Yeah, I know. Well, I
You
don't
get
know
the
name
same
of it.
thing.
I know
It's
approximately
an
where it is.
Irish coffee.
Yes.
It's called
I'm-
Patty's.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
have 2 invitations.
Yeah.
There is a ZFS, OpenZFS production user call every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific. It's available from callfortesting.org. And the OpenZFS User and Developer Summit took place in Portland, Oregon last October. It will take place again this year in Portland, Oregon, in Hillsdale, October 25th and 28th through 28th. You heard it here first. You're welcome to attend. Thank you.
What's OpenZFS?
You answered that.
In so many words.
Yep.
Pulls all the
Thank
stuff.
Ian, that was fantastic, thank you.
And I'd like to thank Plasma for having a button by default to turn off your screensaver. Also for wobbly windows.
Did you get your Steve? Oh, hey, it didn't start beeping though.
No.